Thank you. I'm a little nervous to be here this morning with all you people for Book Expo America. You know, I'm one of those people that, believe it or not, if you see me on television, I may not look like that guy, but I'm the kind of guy that when he gets into any area, he looks for the bookstore, and he hangs around the bookstore. It's a magnet for me. I like to explore a bookstore. It's sort of like dating with somebody else. You know, you're exploring them all the time. And I like to go in and explore the recesses of bookstores. I started this in grad school at Chapel Hill, and then I fell completely in love with Carla and Barbara's Politics and Prose in D.C. I hope somebody's here from there. It is absolutely the #1 watering spot in D.C. for not just the literati, but everybody. We all go there, hang out, drink coffee, eat apple popovers down in the basement. It looks like a grad school operation going on all the time. We love that place. And up in Nantucket, I love Mitchell's Bookstore, which is absolutely the place to go up there and hang out. I'm afraid we've lost Mimi last year, but she was great. And it was always a place to check in. And the independent bookstore is such a cultural phenomenon in this country. It's not just a place to sell books, it's a place to get lectures, you really have an ongoing intellectual life. And it's the one place you love doing it. So congratulations for doing this. I read the New York Times today that business, if it isn't booming, it's living, which is a great thing. Well, it's good to be in the Big Apple, or as it was once called and may well be again called, the Naked City. Guess that depends on who wins the mayor's race, huh? It's going to get worse. Actually, I remember growing up with that TV show called Naked City. There are 8 million stories in the Naked City. This has been one of them. 8 million people in this city, and Anthony Weiner's one of the top 2. I was thinking about Helen Hunt the other day in that movie. It's as good as it gets. The movie with Jack Nicholson. And this woman said, "Why can't I just find a normal boyfriend?" Is that too hard to do these days? Yeah. Anyway, everybody seems to be leaving politics these days. The other day, this week, actually, Michelle Bachmann, who I actually really do love, Michelle Bachmann announced this week she's leaving politics. And I'm tempted to say, please, Michelle, pretty please, I've never asked you for anything. You got to think it over. The country needs you. I need you. I used to think of Congress as a place like advising consent with sophisticated people like Walter Pidgeon as the Senate Majority Leader, and the Southern grandees like Charles Lawton, and sophisticated old money people like Margaret Chase Smith running the place. Well, today it's feeding time at the zoo. It's very different. People ask me about the old days. I think back to the days of the 1990s when we had really nice guys like Newt Gingrich running the place. Newt Gingrich was a guy who carried his own china shop around. He was a bull that carried his own china shop around with him. But luckily we had Bill Clinton playing the Matador. And I never forget how he made Newt sit in the back of Air Force One. Made him pout for a month. Well, that's nothing compared to today. Today we got Hannibal Lecter as the Senate Republican leader. He wants to eat Obama for breakfast. In the White House we have a guy doing Greta Garbo, "I want to be left alone." Well, today we've got nothing but endless fights over taxes and spending and government shutdowns and sequestrations and the inevitable filibuster. In fact, debates about the filibuster. And this last week, believe it or not, there was a debate about whether to debate the filibuster. Yes. Back in the 70s, I worked for the Senate Budget Committee for Senator Ed Muskie. And back then, this is how times have changed. The Republicans and the Democrats on the Senate Budget Committee agreed on a budget together, a bipartisan budget. It is, and back, in fact, in the 60s, when we fought the Vietnam War, or fought against having the Vietnam War, even the anti-war resolutions were all bipartisan. Cooper Church, the parties got together to fight the war. Do you remember, I don't know if anybody's as old as me here, but we used to have a Republican Party up here in the Northeast that had Nelson Rockefeller, a liberal Republican as governor of New York, Clifford Case, a liberal Republican as senator for New Jersey, and the great Bill Scranton of Pennsylvania. Where are they? That's all gone. We had a United States Senate in 1964 that passed the Civil Rights Bill. Catch the vote and how it's changed today. The vote for civil rights, which opened up public accommodation, did all the stuff that John Lewis fought for, all that stuff was done by a vote of 73 to 27. The Republican vote was 27 to 6. What do you think it would be today? A dramatic change. I know one thing from this last election. What was the most popular picture in the newspapers in the last election? Was it the debates? Was it the conventions? No. It was the picture of the Republican governor of New Jersey walking along the beach with the Democratic president of the United States. That's what people like. That's what they want. That's what the people in this country are dying for. And I have, like you, a bookseller, have a lifesaver coming out this November. Tip and The Gipper. It's about the working relationship between a very conservative president, Ronald Reagan, and a very liberal Speaker of the House, Tip O'Neill. It's not, despite all the talk you hear about a cartoon about two old Irish guys sipping whiskey together. The last we need is another ethnic cartoon. Reagan didn't even drink. It's a true story of two professionals who knew their job was to do a job, not to screw the country up in government shutdowns and filibusters and the rest of this Mickey Mouse stuff we have today. I had an inside track on all this because I was TIP's AA for the whole 6 years. The book's aimed at people who want to see it all work again. They want to see their government perform again. Don't expect it to be all schmaltz, although there's some scenes in this book. I'm turning it in Monday morning at 9. Jonathan Karp is here, Monday morning at 9. There's some schmaltz in it that you will not believe. My favorite is these two old Irish guys in a hospital, George Washington Hospital, University Hospital, and Reagan's just barely alive after being shot, and the bullet got right in his heart. He lost half his blood. It was much worse than people know. And here's these two old guys, Tip O'Neill, kneeling down next to the president's gurney, kissing him on the forehead, and then they recited the 23rd Psalm together. So it's a little different than today. There's some other great scenes. There are parties together, they're toasting of each other. I think it's great stuff, but the most important thing is they disagreed 180 and they got things done, and it worked. And I think this book is exactly well-timed to this year, because nothing is working right now. Anyway, I'm in the company today, as you can see, of greats. And I want to begin by introducing the first of the great authors here today, Helen Fielding. By the way, that's a pretty good name for a novelist, isn't it? She started out with a newspaper column for The Independent over in London. It was about the preoccupations of a single woman in her 30s, a single woman named Helen Fielding. It was there that she created Bridget Jones, a 30-something Londoner, worried hour by hour about her career, her tobacco and alcohol intake, her love life, and some other stuff I, as a guy, can't talk about. And out of that column came the novel Bridget Jones. And out of that came the movie, and the big question, Hugh Grant or Colin Firth? And out of that came a $70 million gross. Out of that came, I may not have the order exactly right here, a second Bridget Jones novel, The Edge of Reason, and out of that another film with a gross this time of 3.5 times the first gross. Let me introduce to you the author of Mad About the Boy, the new Bridget Jones, who said herself, I hope people will have as much fun reading this book as I am writing it. Miss Helen Fielding.
Well, thank you, Chris. It's a great honor to be here and in such elevated company, and also, frankly, a bit scary at this time in the morning, but it's also a relief to see so many people here, because I've never quite got over my first ever event where I spoke about a book where 2 people turned up, and one of them was someone I used to go out with at school, who took me out for lunch and told me that he was gay. So, so this is already much better. Yeah, it is. But it's quite a surprise, actually, to be talking about Bridget Jones again like this. I've been in, frankly, a feral state for several months with wild hair, sitting in an armchair in sweatpants, typing away at my laptop. I never actually thought I'd write another one. When Bridget first started, as Chris said, it was an anonymous column in a newspaper. They'd asked me to write about myself, and I said, no, that's hopelessly embarrassing and exposing, but I'll make up this character. And then, of course, it couldn't have been more exposing and embarrassing in a way, because everyone continued to think that Bridget was me. But the whole thing was a huge surprise, I think, to everybody, that it sold so well and turned into movies and so on. And I sort of, after that, lost my voice a bit, and I didn't want to just churn out another one and become sort of a parody of myself. And then last year,